Hello everybody, this is Freddy from Turn Vertical, and in today's video I want to show you how we analyze our creatives, how we make decisions, and yeah, that's going to be hopefully a value-packed video for you. So I would say let's get right into it. So first things first, I have to explain a little bit before we dive into the actual analysis. So basically, if I'm going to give you this sheet for free, by the way, if you just go to the description, it's linked there, so you can just duplicate the file, make a copy, and then this is your own sheet. But basically, the gray fields are calculated automatically. So here we have the averages of all of the metrics, which I'm going to go over in just a second. And then for the blue one, this is the ad name and ad ID. Usually, I use something like Supermetrics or 2-minute reports to basically get the data to that sheet. But if you're not using any of these and you just export them manually from Facebook, make sure you choose either one of these. Usually the ad ID is like the unique identifier, and then the ad name. If you have multiple winning ads and you duplicate them into multiple different ad sets, then you want to make sure that you definitely include this one here as well. And then again, this is like all for your own data. You need to import it. Ideally you would use something like Supermetrics or 2-minute reports to get off the data. And then the gray fields are calculated automatically, and we, for example, have the stop rate, which I'm going to over in just a second. And yeah, this is only sample data, just so you know. But I would say let's get into the metrics now. Basically, stop rate is the 3-second video views divided by impressions. So it's basically how good is this ad at the beginning at capturing the attention of a user. Like, this is only for videos, by the way, so this doesn't work with images. So how good is this ad at capturing the attention of the user, right? Then we have the average watch time. Usually, the higher the average watch time, the better the ad is, because it gets people hooked, keeps people hooked in the ad. And then we have the outbound CTR. It's a percent number, but I can't use the percent number because of the exported data from Supermetrics. But essentially, obviously, you would think the higher this is, the better the CPA is. Then we have the ROAS. Again, you could just change this with CPA. I think CPA is a more accurate metric, but more people use ROAS. That's why I've included it in the sample sheet. Again, it's ROAS or CPA. It's up to you. Probably CPA is the better metric to look at. But basically, how good is the ROAS? And then we have a grade. And the grade basically, again, we have A, B, C, D, which is either excellent. A is excellent, B is good, C is okay, and D is fail. So basically, 3 metrics are above average, C has 2 above average, etc., etc. And then, we get a grade, and I have formatted this by color, so we basically can see from first glance, A grade gets automatically a green background, so we can have a visual representation of what is good or what is not good. These metrics, that's important to know, are only calculated based on the stop rate, watch time, and outbound CTR. The ROAS or CPA is not included in the sheet. And this is simply because even if you have a good stop rate and good watch time and good CTR, this does not mean that you have a good CPA. So when you analyze creatives, the first thing which I want you to do is look at the ROAS. Is our ROAS good or bad? Let me just change some of the numbers here. Let me just enter 2.1. 3.4, 4.7, 6.7, 2.1, 1.9. Let me just enter some random numbers. But basically, the first thing I want you to look at is the ROAS or the CPA. Simply because this is, again, the most important metric for you to determine whether an ad is good or not. If you have a good stop rate, good watch time, good outbound CTR, but not a good ROAS, it does not matter. It simply does not matter. And then what I want you to look at is at the grade. You look at the ROAS first and then at the grade. And then you determine, you basically try to see greens and greens. That's basically the thing that you're looking for. Or not necessarily greens on greens, but basically, for example, here, let's say this would be real ad. We have a great ROAS, but our metric is a D. Basically this means that the stop rate and watch time and outbound CTR are below our average account. Now, the question, which I would be asking myself, or which you should be asking yourself, is, okay, we have an ad which has a great ROAS, but all of the secondary metrics are below average. Now you would set up a hypothesis, which is, if I increase my other metrics, does this increase my ROAS, or does this decrease my CPA even further? So in this instance, with this ad, let me highlight this. So with this ad, what I would do, first of all, okay, this is way too little spent to determine anything, but again, it's sample data. So what I would do in this instance, okay, we have a great rows, but D, great. Okay, we have a very, very bad stop rate. Is there any way that we could get this stop rate to be improved without changing a lot on the ad side of things? So without changing too much. Even if you change like hook and make it like a completely different hook, this means it's a significant change within the ad. So for example, in this instance, it might be that this ad has no subtitles, or this ad has no text overlay within the first 3 seconds. So the thing which I would be doing in this instance is, okay, if we add subtitles, does this increase the stop rate? If we increase the stop rate, does this then lead to an increased average watch time? And does the increased average watch time lead to a higher outbound CTR? And then theoretically, the traffic quality or pressure quality should stay the same. So in theory, if we increase the stop rate, we then get a better watch rate and we then get a better outbound CTR. Does this increase the ROAS? That's a test which I would run. And then, this is basically how I would analyze this, Okay, this has a bad stop rate. How can we improve the stop rate without changing too much on the ad side of things? And then, for the watch time, how can we improve the watch time again? It might be, you have no subtitles. It might be that, your hook is not congruent with, the rest of the ad. And for example, if you have a very clickbaity ad, which, I don't know, if you change this to 70%, if we have a great hook rate, but like a low watch time, okay, there's probably something not so good about the hook. So what can I do to improve this hook? And improving this hook does not mean getting a better stop rate. It means simply, basically getting higher average watch time, because, this hypothetically leads to better outbound CTR, and which that should then lead to a higher CPA, right? But if you go back to, for example, this instance, where we have, let's say our ROAS is 1 in this instance, just for the purpose of this example. So you have an ad which is a 1 ROAS, but like an A grade, all of these metrics are above average. So we have, great stop rate for the account, a great watch time, and a great outbound CTR. Now we would dive in and basically see, why is this happening? What's different about this ad? Why is it only getting a 1 ROAS? And, it has a great stop rate, has a high watch time, has a high outbound CTR. Maybe could be the case that you have a decent hook. Then you just make like a day in the life of something video where you don't really talk about the product, and then you'll be like, you make a secret out of the product, and you'll be like, if you want to get these results, swipe up right now. And you don't mention that product anywhere. And then people swipe up and they're like disappointed by the product that you have. And that's why you have only 1 ROAS. So it might be good in this instance to kind of, hypothetically introduce the product, at the beginning of your video, which then may lead to like a lower stop rate and a lower average watch time, but you only get people to click who are really interested in the product, and then you have a better ROAS, right? What you have to understand is that just because you have a great stop rate, great watch time, great outbound CTR, this does not mean that you have a great CPA. There's like no statistical significance between these 2 metrics, or these 4 metrics, right? So what I want you to understand is, you look at ads that have a great CPA, and then you take a look at the secondary metrics and find out, could I improve the secondary metrics, with the hopes of increasing my CPA? And if you have an ad which has great secondary metrics, like this one, for example, but super low ROAS or super high CPA, you look at this and think, what's wrong about these first secondary metrics that I'm not getting a good CPA, right? Think backwards, and always with caution. Just because a good hook could be clickbait, could be like a satisfying hook. Maybe, I don't know, you crush something. You have a 70% stop rate, great, but no people, they're not interested in the product anymore. Just, they just watch because they have a satisfying hook, maybe because you're crushing something. It looks oddly satisfying. So that's what I want you to look at. Basically, in a good scenario, all of these 2 would be green. Like you would get like a 5 ROAS here, but it's not typically the case. Typically it's you have a good ad, but maybe there's like something out of line. Usually it's like a B, whatever. And then you try to find, how can I improve this without, breaking down my ROAS? Because it's simple to increase the stop rate, right? Just add like some weird hook which gets, which is like super clickbaity, and then you're gonna get a low ROAS. So the art is to make an ad which has, you know, good metrics here, but which has a focus on the CPA, and none of the other metrics really matter in that instance. So it's important. It's kind of a weird video that I'm making, because I'm saying, you know, these metrics don't really matter, but I'm analyzing them. The art, or not the art, but it's important to know when you should look at the secondary metrics and when you shouldn't be looking at the secondary metrics. Number one metric should always be the CPA that you're looking at. And I know that I'm kind of repeating myself in this video, but I think it's super important to understand this, especially as a beginner. Look at the CPA first, and then look at the secondary metrics, and then think, how could I improve the secondary metrics to get a cheaper CPA? And improving the secondary metrics does not mean to get better at them. It just simply means to get more people to convert, to get, you know, people, basically to get a higher quality of click, because not every click is equal on Facebook. Not every person has the same conversion when they goes to the website, right? Some people have a high conversion rate, some people don't. So the trick is to get a higher quality of a trick by improving the secondary metrics. And this, again, does not mean that you have to have a higher stop rate. This could be, you make a worse stop rate, but the stop rate, you know, or the people that then still watch have a higher chance of converting, because it's more like of an educational video. You focus more on the product, you get clear about selling. Maybe it's all about the video, you're selling the product. Maybe it's only today, it's like, maybe, for example, maybe you have a super expensive product, people go to your website and then they notice it's super expensive and then they don't buy, and then you have a low ROAS. Maybe in this instance, it would be good to talk about the price within the video, and then, you know, the people who go to the website actually buy because they know about the price, and then you have a better ROAS, right? Sometimes it can be super, super simple. But yeah, I hope I explained this in a good manner. I hope you understood what I mean by looking at the CPA first and then analyzing the secondary metrics and increasing the secondary metrics, so that you can get a lower CPA and not just increasing the secondary metrics for the sake of increasing the secondary metrics. And why it's so important to look at, you know, ROAS/CPA versus stop rate on its own, and not like put these together in one big formula and be like, okay, if I have a good stop rate, I'm going to get a good ROAS, because that's simply not the case. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this little video, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.